Well, hi everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And I've had a very stressful week. But I am here and I'm happy to be here. And I hope that all of you have had a stress-less week. And if not, let's talk about it. I'm just getting up some quotes for you. The quotes today are going to come from Mr. Rogers because there's a particular reason for that. I I want to be reminded. I've got some. What shall I call it? Excuse me. I've got some uh, controversial type communication going on with somebody at the moment, and conflict. Oh, oh, whatever that is didn't go down the right way. And so I want to remind myself. So I'm being very selfish on this one. So hold on one second. Ooh. Um, for those of you who don't know, Dear Mama Sal is not just me. It's a group of us who get together. Um, and, it's funny, during the summer months, it's always just a few of us. And I actually stopped doing all the broadcasts because, it's like a little family group rather than a whole lot of us. So I'm hoping. Hi there, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. I'm trying to get rid of whatever it is that's choking me right at the moment, and let's hope that I can continue to do that. All right, here we go. First things first, before we get on to the main topic of the day, I wanted to make sure that we recognize some birthdays and things like that. So, um, thoughts and prayers, first of all, for anybody who happens to be uh, in the path of the incoming hurricane. I know it's mostly going to be in the west part of the Gulf, but just in case it starts sweeping around, I'm hoping that you'll all be safe. I'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, birthday's coming up. Kez's birthday on the 27th, so happy birthday for you. I wanted to give you all a reminder, and I'll do that through the next couple of months. Please, it's getting into hot summer, and if you've got a pet, please remember they get as hot as we do. And so do everything you can to make their lives comfortable. I know that it's Bernice's birthday on the 4th, but the 4th is also the day that Erin will be sad because it's her daddy's birthday, but of course his daddy's birthday in heaven. So thoughts and prayers out to those. If we missed your birthday coming up, please let me know. It means you're not on the database. And for all of you, thoughts and prayers if you need them. And I say that because, quite often we don't hear from you that you need thoughts and prayers, but I want you to know that we will always think of you. And so today, I just want to make sure I send out thoughts and prayers for all of you who need it. And I know at least one viewer that desperately needs our thoughts and prayers today. So if you possibly can, let's do that. Um, Mr. Rogers said, imagine what our real neighbors would be like if each of us offered as much, as a matter of course, just one kind word to another person. I can remember when I saw A Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood. I just thought everybody should be forced to watch that movie, and every school child should be trained around it in terms of the incredible tactics he had to avert confrontation. He was just a master at it, and I don't know whether it was just the script writing. I don't think it was, but there were so many instances where he'd be having a totally different opinion from somebody, and just the way he worded it was wonderful. So I like to remind myself. So first of all, Jody asked me some time ago privately whether I knew anything where she could get the scent of the original gain, without getting the washing liquid. Well, I've spent some time researching this, and I have to remember that I'm in Canada and she's in America. So the interesting thing is I did find it, and I already had it solved for you, Jody. Before I found the one that I sent you, I found out there actually is one candle company that makes that fragrance. However, if you don't want to go to that cost, Febreze makes a gain scented Febreze, which basically is what you're looking for. All right. Now you can actually, if you've got a diffuser or if you've got a, what do you call these things? That's also a diffuser, I think, right? Where you've got the liquid in the top and the candle at the bottom. You've got one of those things. You can just put some of this in. You don't need to put it all in. Just put a couple of squirts and some water, and you have got yourself the aroma of gain. Hang on a second. And the other thing is, if you really like it in your clothes, then get yourself some wool laundry balls, and then just put a couple of squidges of this on it before you set the dryer going. So just a thought. Now, also, I found Plan C was they actually Febreze makes a plug-in with their scent. Okay. So there you go, Jody. Lots of options for you, honey. Right. I want to tell you my greatest joy this week was, two. Number one, this is one of my new roses, and it's called Cosmic Cloud. The reason I'm showing you, and I just wish we had the ability for you to share the bouquet on this one. This is such an amazingly strong bouquet. I walk into my kitchen, I go, oh my gosh. And that's all I've got. Hi there, Paul. How are you doing? Anyway, so I thought I'd show you that. Another really big thrill for me this week is my goal this year in the garden was, can I grow my own lettuce? And the answer is yes. I am so excited. I've got red lettuce, I've got regular lettuce, and obviously my sprouting greens as well. So they're all doing beautifully. But I wanted to let you know that it is really working very, very well. And I've started now, starting to harvest my lettuces. And it's just, I can't tell you how thrilling it is. So, Paul, did I see that you are getting married? Or did you already get married? No, you can't be married yet, unless you're living in two different countries. You're engaged still. Okay, fine. Excellent. So congratulations on that one. Another thing I wanted to mention before we just get on to the next thing is, can you believe that we've already got 2 tropical storms named tropical storms? And one of them is already about to become a Category 4 hurricane. That's Beryl. Is about to become a Category 4 hurricane at the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Let's hope it doesn't swing around. But as I said, if any of you are in the path of that, my thoughts and prayers are with you. We don't normally get these named storms until July and sometimes even to August. And so anybody who doesn't think that climate change is happening, hello. We are about to have Canada Day tomorrow, for those of you who live in Canada. And obviously, you've got the 4th of July coming up on Thursday. So I wondered if any of you got any special plans for those. Hi there, Jeannie. Good to see you as well. I just wondered whether any of you got any plans. Now, the really nice thing is my little neighborhood, I live in a little community. We're going to have some lawn games, you know what I mean? Fun games on the lawn. We've got a piece of grass that is part of the community, and we're taking sort of different lawn games up there, and we're all going to take our snacks and beverages and stuff and our deck chairs and sit up there and play some games and generally have a bit of a chit chat. We'll probably get into trouble knowing this community, but there we go. So those are my plans. I just wondered if any of you are doing anything special. If so, type away. Oh, interesting. Paul is saying that one of his cousins is Canadian. Aren't you lucky? We're strange people, I must admit. Right, now then, another joy of my week this week was yesterday. I was busy minding my own business, and suddenly I got a note from Juliana. And she said, would I have time to chat sometime? Not necessarily immediately, whenever it suits me. And I said, I said, can you give me 5 minutes? Because, every time we try and organize something to talk to one another, it goes wrong. And I didn't want her to not be able to talk to me. So I quickly rushed to the washroom and did all those sort of things. And I came back and I said, okay, let's go. And, we had about 20 minutes where she was showing me all her art. And I want to tell you, it blows me away just how talented she is. And, the fact that she and I have been involved artistically from the get-go. I was saying to her, Juliana, some of my fondest memories of when I first knew you, getting to know you, was when I came down to visit, you and I would always sit and play with color, be it pens or pencils or paint or whatever. I said, we've always done that. And I said, it's just when I see what you're doing now, it just touches my very soul. And, what she's doing is a lot of sort of collage and montage type stuff, which is so amazing. Oh, Jeannie's saying she was thinking of having a bunch of scones she ordered, but they didn't arrive. So I'm going to have something after July 12th. You're such a good cook. Can you not cook them? Because you're always telling us about, the great stuff that you cook. Yeah. It's interesting, Paul's saying that, boy, how this time flies away. I want to tell you something. It is to think I'm going to be 77 this year, I think, or I think I'm going to be 77 this year. It's just like, wow, so hard to believe. Boy, I want to tell you what happened. All right, now this is the big elephant in the room. That I wondered how many of you watched the presidential debate, and I'm certain a lot of you did. And I don't want to get this into a political argument. That's not what I want to do. But what I thought I would ask you is, did any of you query why the moderators did not do some fact checking on some things? Either way, it doesn't matter. Because I know where I was watching it. I was watching it over with my neighbors, and she was really getting incensed. She said, "Why aren't they fact checking this stuff?" So I thought I would just share with you the official job of a moderator. A moderator is not an interview person, all right? A moderator's job is to moderate the debate. So here is the job, and I thought you'd all like to hear this. Their job is to set the questions in advance, to introduce the event and set out the goals and the rules, to introduce the panel members, to keep the time management on track, keep the discussion moving forward, clarify points of discussion and added meaning, keep the panelists on topic, which they failed to do in a couple of cases. I'm certain you remember those. And then manage if there's an audience, which there wasn't, but if there's an audience, moderate the questions and answer section. So I had to advise my hostess that, that was the reason why they didn't do any fact checking. It wasn't in the official rules of what a moderator can do. And obviously they were being very tight on what they could and could not do. And so all credit to them. I thought during the debate, there were good points, there were bad, and some pretty ugly. And so, from that perspective, as I said, I know that we've got people on both sides of that argument, and you know, I think the main thing is, um, I tried to work out, could we all say something nice about the person that we don't necessarily support? I thought that would take a great deal of what shall I say, self awareness and ability, right, to do that. Yeah, you thought they did fairly well. And Jeannie, so what would you have liked to see them do better if you thought they did fairly well? Where do you think they did not do well? Yeah, I know Paul, and Paul's from is a Brit, so we won't be spending too much time on this, but I just need to address it because I know we have a lot of people that are very keen on their politics. So, as I said, I thought there was good, bad, and ugly on both sides, quite honestly, and very sad to see. All right, I'm just seeing if anybody. All right, and let me move on. The world needs a sense of worth, and it will achieve it only by its people feeling they are worthwhile. Do you feel worthwhile? Is the question. I hope so. So, what I thought I would do is the chances are, as we now get into the latter part of the political debate. By the way, talking politics, did you see what happened to Macron in France today? For those of you who follow international politics, he called a snap election thinking he was going to win it, and the far right took him out. Well, JD, I'm glad that you thought they acted very well as moderators. I thought, I didn't, funny enough, I didn't think they did act very well as moderators because they weren't fact checking anything. But then I looked up the official rules of a moderator and I went, okay, fine. Obviously, they had to keep to the official rules. Mr. Rogers said, love and trust in the space between what is said and what is heard in our life can make all the difference in the world. So I was thinking, as we go into this political cycle now, can we try so hard to just, allow that everybody has their own view, their own person that they're supporting? One of the things that I was so sad to see how sick, quite honestly, Biden looked when he came on stage. But it made me very sad for him that he obviously was not well that day. And yet you saw him the next day and he was stumping somewhere and he looked completely different. But it was sad to see, but it doesn't surprise me because he really is an, of an age, all right? I would say that when you are talking to your family and friends and they have their political views, I was wondering whether some of you would like me to go through what the recommendations are when you are talking to somebody who is diametrically opposed to your view politically or in anything. And one of the things that they said is, try to ask open-ended questions. That is the main thing. Say things like, how did you come? Tell me what your life experience is. All right, that led you to support this particular candidate. What is your life experience in this one? So to me, that's really an important one. Now, don't get into who's right and who's wrong. everybody's right. Do we agree on that? Everybody is right to have their opinion. And do we also agree that it doesn't matter how much we want to, we're very unlikely to change anybody's opinion. All right? We're very unlikely to change anybody's opinion. And one of the things that came up where I was if Biden got out, who would you put in instead? So there's a nice open-ended question. If you didn't have Biden, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit, who do you think should go instead of Biden, and who would be the VP? All right? Because, thanks for your opinion there, Jeannie. I'm not going to repeat it because it's just contentious. So, it's just like, who do you think? Give me some idea. Who might you put in instead? Now, I'm not saying that he's going to bow out, but if he did. Now, the interesting thing that I found out was if Kamala Harris comes in, then they don't have any major problems with all the fundraising money. Why? Because the ticket is the two of them. So if Biden bows out, then Harris has the right to all that fundraising money. Does that make sense to everybody? I thought that was interesting. But if they completely change the ticket, then lots of stuff has to happen, and they don't have a lot of time. To me, this is all about, let's take it easy. All right, let's respect one another. We're entitled to an opinion, and I don't have to agree with yours, and you don't have to agree with mine. Mr. Rogers said we all have different gifts. So we all have different ways of telling the world who we are. I think, to me, I enjoy listening most to somebody who can see both sides of the story. All right? So I tried very hard when I was in that room, to make sure that I had compliments for both sides and that I had, input negatively on both sides. Oh, interesting. Jeannie thinks that they wouldn't put Kamala Harris as. I think it might be their only hope to put her in with another younger person. Quite honestly, she ticks a lot of boxes for the Dems, I think, but I could be wrong. All right. Often, when you think that you're in the end of something, you're really at the beginning of something else. So, I try to think of all the things that I positively could say about both candidates. And I tried to work on that because otherwise I was getting too annoyed. It's interesting that we have this opinion. And, be careful of global statements, all right? For Jeannie, just be careful of global statements, right? You're saying people really dislike Kamala Harris. Not all people. Some, I'm sure. Some people really dislike Trump. So it's not all people. All right. So I think it is going to be interesting to see, number one, will Biden stay in? And number two, if he doesn't, who's going to go in? A young Democrat like who? I'm thinking, the only ones I could think of at the top of my head, Jeannie, would be Newsom, maybe, or Buttigieg, whatever his name is. All right. Those, both what I call young and politically savvy. So that's what I would be inclined to say. Kamala, a lawyer, so she's got a lot of history there. Yeah. Yes, and the British vote's coming up as well. So it's, it's a very busy political year around the world. And the interesting thing is how many places the far right is gaining ground and getting in. So just so you know. Mr. Rogers said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. So I would say, whenever you can, when you see something that makes your blood boil, and I'm sure you did, try and look for the good, all right? Because this is about, you are not going to change anybody' opinion sitting in your chair, dissing people. But what you are going to do is to put yourself under a lot of stress. And I pray that you don't do that to yourself. Mr. Rogers said there are 3 ways to ultimately get success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. The third way is to be kind. So try and remember that when you're having these discussions, all right? Insulting people does not make anything change. It just puts people's back up. The other thing that I found interesting was that everybody presumed, because Biden had such a bad day, and I'm the first one to admit that he did, that was the end of it. But then, if you go back in history, there are an awful lot of presidential debates where the first debate, the incumbent didn't do well. So it's not anything that's new. It just is one of those things. So we will see what happens. Mr. Rogers said, you've made this day a special day just by being you. There's no person in the whole world like you. And I like you just the way you are. Boy, that's meaning we don't ask anybody to change. Can we do that? Do you have that ability? And if you do, right, then you have wonderful emotional intelligence. If you're just going to allow people to be who they are. And not many of us can do that, quite honestly. I had an interesting situation happen to me this week where I was called to a meeting that I have no wish to go to because of the fact I'm not allowed to record it. And I am a hard of hearing person, I am very close to being deaf, totally. And so, to have me go to a meeting and tell me I'm not allowed to record it is wrong. And so what I did is I looked up the law, or I looked up what the Canadian Institute for the Deaf had to say about it. And basically the bottom line was that I have as much right to hear every single word and nuance that a fully hearing person does. Therefore, or to see a written transcript of every single word without the nuance, but you get the idea. And I thought, it's really important. So I am about to say, you have the right to tell me I can't record, but either, if you insist that I still come to this meeting, then I will consider this to be a violation of my human right. On the other hand, you could just type whatever your issue is in a letter and send it to me. And to me, this is like, really, it's not right. It's not right. Paul, I was thinking with your experience, all right, with the things that you struggle with, right? I am certain an awful lot of people presume that you can understand things, same as other people. And that's not necessarily true. I find, Paul, I don't know if it's of any value to you, but for example, when I have my blood work done, I have a problem where my veins do not like to give blood in my elbows. So whenever I have blood work done, I've got a little. I printed it up. I have a little card, and it says, "Hi there. Just to let you know, my blood needs to be drawn from my hand. Um, and please make sure you know that if you're not looking at me while you speak, I cannot hear you. I am deaf. It's not my wish to be deaf. It is my lot in life that I am. I don't mean to be awkward. It's just my reality. Do you understand? So it's sort of nicely written. So and I'm amazed when I hand it over how many people just nod and I'm aware of that. So I think part of it, I don't see my disability as a disability in terms of, oh, I am less than. It's just my life. All right. So Jody has her issues, if you like. I know, Paul, you've got some as well, and so you look at it and you go, it's okay to let people know that, you need a little bit of extra attention. But the funny thing is, I'm amazed how many people seem to think that that makes them less than. I don't think that at all. All right, so Paul is saying if you start using your disability as a crutch, then it becomes nothing more than a cop-out. Do you think telling people if you don't look at me, I can't hear you is a crutch? So, or are you just saying that in general? Okay, give me an example of where it would be a crutch. Right. So this is the thing that I'm saying. I don't feel my disability makes me less than. It's just my reality. All right. And I'm quite happy to discuss my reality. The same as, I'm a cancer person. Now, everybody says, no, you're a cancer survivor. I said, I don't know that. I don't know that I am not officially allowed to say that I am a cancer survivor for another 8 years, because the particular cancer I had hangs around for 10 years. Yeah, I understand what you're saying now. Thanks, Paul. Paul's saying, like, if he comes out with, I can't do this because I'm autistic, or I can't do that because I'm autistic, then that becomes the crutch. Okay, yeah. You can do as much as you want to, or as little as you want to. When people say that about being male, female, fat, thin, old, young, I understand what you're saying now. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for the definition on that one. And so to me, it's like, let's be aware. All right. I think about Jodie so often, has got so many things going against her in so many ways, and still goes out and plays bingo. Now, I was thinking about that, Jodie, and how do you cope with the looks? How do you cope with or do you find that people are beginning to understand it now? Because you keep putting yourself in front of them. So the judgments are less and less each week. Mr. Rogers says, in times of stress, the best thing we can do for each other is to listen with our ears and our hearts, and to be assured that our questions are just as important as our answers. Okay? You've got to remember that. As I said, this is as much for me for what I've got coming up. Right? So to me, it's just like, so Paul's saying that that mine isn't an excuse, but he uses his as an excuse sometimes. That's called human nature, Paul. However, you don't get away with it. I get told, stop making excuses for yourself. Yeah, it's so easy, isn't it? And I think how much of mine is a disability and how much of it is just laziness. Okay, can we talk about that one? Because I've been asking myself that this week, Paul. the last couple of weeks, I have been really low in energy for the last couple of weeks. All right. Now, I'm not sure whether I've got something going on that I don't know about, but it's been really difficult for me to have any get up and go for about 2 weeks. And I keep reminding myself, I need to keep doing things. All right. So I ask myself the same question that Paul is just putting up. Where does the legitimate disability stop and the cop-out start? Where do you think? All right, let's get some input from our viewers. Where do you think? My answer would be, and I'm interested in people's input. Yeah, I'm just going to give my view. I think that only I know the answer to that. All right, it's not for somebody else to judge that. Only I know whether I am doing the best I can, and if I am doing the best I can, it is enough. However, if I am going to watch another movie rather than get up and look after my house or get up and make a decent meal or whatever, then I'm fooling myself. So I think as an adult, Paul, we need to keep check on ourselves. It's not for our friends and family to do it. And I would like to say your mom reckons a lot of your disability is poor me syndrome, and she is right. You know that. I think you'd actually shock her one day if you just turned around and said, you know something, you're absolutely right. But I'm working on it. Interesting. Jody, in answer to the question about the bingo thing, she said, yes, the judgments are less every week. And there are several people that have similar issues. I've had a chance to talk with a very few very nice folks, and they get to understand their situations in more depth. Yeah, as they get to understand yours. It's been a pleasure to have the opportunity to support and encourage them. I think that is a wonderful thing to be aware, that you are in fact giving hope to people. All right. And I can remember 5-7 years ago, Jody, when you didn't want to leave the house because people would comment on you. All right. And now you have every right to leave the house. That's your human right to be able to leave the house. And people will make judgments. That's part of life. Ignorant people will make judgments. All right. But you can't find the nice people if you don't get out of the house and meet them. So I'm very proud of you. Jody's saying as well about, we are our own best judge of whether we're copping out or not. She said, I agree. We know our own truth. And when we're relying on an excuse rather than a valid reason for needing to delay a task, right? Only we know that, right? If you're honest. Jeannie says, sometimes you have to let yourself relax. I did not do laundry for a while. I felt too sick. And today I did plenty of laundry and went out with a friend. Exactly, Jeannie. And that's okay. All right. We're adults. I knew that do you know how I know if I can do a broadcast or not? Do you know what my benchmark is? If I am well enough to tidy up my kitchen, some people always have an immaculate kitchen. I don't. Mine is normally a train wreck. But if I am well enough to tidy up the kitchen, if I am well enough to do that and put a broadcast together, then I'm well enough to do a broadcast. But there've been a couple of days where I couldn't clean up the kitchen if you asked me to, and therefore, upmarket way of saying that, ipso facto, no broadcast. If I cannot pull myself together enough to just tidy up, then I should not be doing a broadcast. Right? I need to be lying down and getting some rest. Mr. Roger said, I hope you're proud of yourself for the times that you've said yes, when all it meant was extra work for you and seemingly helping only somebody else. How many times have we said yes, not to ourselves, but to other people? I love that. I try not to do that anymore. Yeah, Jeannie's on prednisone, okay, and that stuff have you put on weight? And what are your symptoms from that? I know Jody knows that one very well. Touch wood. Cutting board. Um, I have managed to not have to take that stuff, but I believe it's horrific. I am doing everything I can to try and lose weight at the moment. Paul's saying, rest? What's that? I live across 2 separate time zones now, and I've been doing so for nearly the past 4 years. That's out of choice, right? I grab a few hours sleep as and when I can. Yeah. Now, do you think that's healthy? Let's see. Yeah, I want to tell you something, Jeannie. Things like Crohn's. When those things flare up, it's like Jody, over and above everything else she's also got fibro, and when she has those flares, I know, right, just to let her be. She's going to need rest and quiet, and she's not going to want to be chit-chatting about Wimbledon starting tomorrow. Jody, he plays 5:30 in the morning. But it's like, I know just not to expect her to be chit-chatty. So yes, Jenny's drinking plenty of liquid. I don't think I'm drinking enough liquid at the moment. I literally am down. I'm monitoring my carbs, my calories, and I've cut right down on my calories, and I'm doing intermittent fasting, and I am still not losing weight. And I've been doing that for a month now. So what I'm worried about is what's going on. All right. Okay, so Paul is saying that his relationship is reliant on him doing. Do you feel, Paul, please don't take this the wrong way. All right. I just need to ask you a question, if I may. Maybe, or absolutely. Okay. So here's what I found. And maybe the chances are you're not the same. I found that I was addicted to having those conversations. Do you sometimes feel that it controls your life rather than you controlling it? I have that happen now, even with the tennis. All right, it's like luckily I can make choices because I am retired. But I know people look at me and roll their eyes when I say, well, I didn't get much sleep last night because I was watching the tennis. And they go, what? I say, well, tennis is on in Europe, and that's during the night. So I try to catch what sleep I can off and on during the day so I can watch the tennis at night. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Paul. May I repeat that? That's exactly what I wondered. I just want to get permission to repeat that. No, not everybody can see it on the replay, because I cut the replay, the feed. Okay, so here's Paul's honest answer, and I want you to really think about this, all right? He said, and I believe him, I don't feel complete if I haven't talked to her, if that means anything. It means a lot, right? It means a lot. And I have been there, and I totally get it. So, but can you see, how can I word this? I don't want to offend you in any way, Paul, you know that, but can you see that in some way it's almost like an addiction? Like a drug, almost. And so what I found out is, it's a bit like, I asked myself, can I can I walk around the house without my phone? One of the things I always said about being a smoker was, I couldn't go from one room to the other without picking up my packet of cigarettes. I don't know if any of you relate to them, but it was just like my cigarettes came with me wherever I went, inside, outside, in the car, and I was not complete, if I can use Paul's wording, unless I was holding my packet of cigarettes so that I could have one, because it was my drug. And so to me, I found when I stopped smoking, what amazed me was that freedom. I wasn't constantly going, where are my cigarettes? All right? Where are my cigarettes? So, okay, so who said, I just want to make sure you want me to repeat this stuff, Paul. I respect your privacy in this matter. It's a very good question. Okay, so your mom's, can I repeat it? Okay, so Paul's saying, I tell her, this is his fiance who lives in the US and Paul lives in the UK. I tell her every day that I want to marry her. And I got told, talk is cheap, make it happen. And I wondered who had said that to him, and he said it was his mom. But he said, whatever that means. What it means is you keep saying you want to marry her, but can you make it happen? Can you do it? In other words, are you capable of supporting the two of you? Are you capable of moving to the States, or is she capable of living in England? You two have to live somewhere together. And you have come from two completely different backgrounds, I believe. So, it's all about, you can talk about that's what you want. Listen, I want Brad Pitt. Is it going to happen? I don't think so. I thought I wanted George Clooney, but he's inclined to be a little picky about about things. I saw an interview with him once, and he literally was spending the whole of the interview taking little bits off his countertop, and I went, oh yeah, I definitely would not do well with that. And I love you to bits, George, but that's not going to work. So, to me, it's about, I understand that you tell her that, and I believe you, that you want to, but it may not be possible, right? So there are limitations, and that's your reality and hers, and so to me, I think that is, I think that you are telling the truth. All right. So she's saying that his mom says without the corresponding actions, it's just petty sounding words and just another piece of bloody pipe dream. Well, I want to tell you something. The more I think about it, Paul, and I know you fairly well, I think that you are telling the truth. I think you would like to marry her. All right. I believe you on that. But just because you want to doesn't mean that you can, right? I really want to be able to walk 5K again. And I'm not sure if I ever will be able to do a 5K again, but it would be nice to be able to do that. I can't even seem to do 5,000 steps a day mentally at the moment. So, that there are things that we want to do that maybe we can't. And I think that you telling her that that's what you want to do, as long as you follow up with, but maybe I won't be able to, or maybe we won't be able to, right? I think that's reality. What do the rest of you think? How could Paul best word this that he stays in integrity and tells the truth? I totally believe that you say that you want to marry her. I totally believe that. Mr. Rogers said that love is like infinity. You can't have more or less infinity, and you can't compare two things to see if they're equally infinite. Infinity just is, and that's the way I think love is too. Right? Would you agree, Paul? You're either in love or you're not. And when you're in love, it is boots and all, no half measures. You are in love. All right? And the rest of the world sort of revolves outside of that reality for you. I understand that. I've been there. Been there a lot. Mr. Rogers said, one of my wise teachers, Dr. Orr, told me there is only one thing evil cannot stand, and that is forgiveness. You know, I found it really interesting going back to watching the debate where, you know, I was trying to get the person I was watching it with to find some middle ground, regardless of which side of the fence I may sit or not sit. But it's interesting, you know, it's difficult to get people to move to middle ground. All right. Funny enough, I have similar beliefs to hers, but you know, to get her to see a bit of the other side was very difficult. And that's why, you know, she was going really insane because there was no fact checking. And I said, there must be a reason. So I went back and checked it. And I looked to see what they probably had been told as moderators. You're not an interviewer now, you're a moderator, whole different job. So to me, it's like, I think Paul's comments every day is, you know, how do you feel when you must feel good when you say it, right? I believe it comes from your heart. And I am sure your fiance receives it well. But I know that you're smart enough to know it might not become a reality, which would be heartbreaking. So, especially, you know, you imagine it with the political climate that's going on at the moment. All right, you getting in will become more and more difficult, not easier. And so here we are. Mr. Rogers said, knowing that we can be loved exactly as we are gives us all the best opportunity for growing into the healthiest of people. You know, I never pretend that I'm a really nice person. Yeah, people have said to me, "You're such a nice person." I go, "Oh no, I'm not." I'd love to tell you that, but no, I'm not. I said, you know, you've caught me on a good day. You do not want to see me on a bad one. So I don't think that, you know, that I am a totally nice person. And I try very hard not to pretend that I am. How many of you are laughing now because you know that, you know, something happens on the broadcast and it gets me upset? You know, I can control my words, but not my facial reaction. And it's always makes me laugh because, you know, people will write to me and say it was just priceless watching your face during that, and I go, yeah, I know. So, you know, it's just like, none of us is perfect. None of us needs to be perfect. And the most wonderful thing in life is just to know that some people will love us above and beyond, you know, as imperfect as we are. In fact, they probably would love us less if we were perfect. They'd be scared. You know? So I look at it and I go, this is going to be a really good few months politically of us learning how to suck it up, constrain our comments. We're entitled to think what we like, but what we say to others needs to be measured. We don't need to make anybody else feel stupid. We don't need to make anybody else feel less than, right? For their views. It's like, okay, that's their view. Let's find out why, if you're interested. And if you're not, shut up. How about this one? Attitudes are caught, not taught. And I love what Paul was saying, about how many excuses are we going to come up with, all right, for whatever. And, the issue that I have about, I need to do this and meeting and record it is because it's an issues meeting. It's not a friendly, hello, fine, how are you doing type meeting. It's an issue. She's got an issue with me. So that I need to hear everything properly. And I've got somebody who's inclined to have very selective memory. And the only way I can protect myself is to either have it recorded or put in writing. And I'm sticking to that. Your choice. She can choose which to do. Either let me record it or put your issue in writing. But I'm not going to a meeting one-on-one where I can't record it because I won't hear it all. Make sense? My right. And I would say that each and every one of us now has the opportunity to use the coming months as a lesson. How am I doing? A benchmark. How am I doing on my reaction time? How am I doing on my judgments of other people? How am I doing on my judgments of people I agree with? And just, it's like, am I balanced? Let's not worry about anybody else. Let's worry about ourselves. Am I balanced? You have heard me say time and time again, my friend Marnie, she and I have different political views. And we regularly, well, not as regularly as I'd like, but regularly will sit down and have political discussion. And you know something? I cry with laughter sometimes. Why? Because she is so able to discuss things without calling anybody stupid or just saying that people are bad or whatever. It's all we keep going. Yeah, have you thought about this one though? And then when she comes back at me, I don't take that personally. I go, yeah, but I also heard da 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 da. Did you hear that one? And so we just sort of balance each other out, but politely and nicely. And I keep using the words, and this is a nice one to remember if you can. All right, I say, what did I miss? All right, I thought I heard this said. Did I miss something? Because I believe that to be a falsehood. And if it is, should it have been allowed? Yeah, I can say that. But did I miss something? Right? I'm prepared to be wrong if I am. But you've got to prove it. Yeah, Paul is saying we can't have different views without falling out all the time because we're grown up. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Remember when I first met you, Paul, how many times you had to run away? Look at you now. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, Jody's saying it's beautiful that you appreciate each other and learn from one another. Yes, and Jeannie's saying respecting the other person, all right? And it's their belief. It's sacred to them. Let them have that. We have so little these days. We can try and expand the envelope a little bit, but don't push it so you lose friends, please. Don't push it so you lose, family members or whatever. All right? It's just like they're entitled to that. Mr. Rogers said that real strength has to do with helping people. Helping people. And so let's think about that. Let's give that a lot of thought. And What was that about? If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. How many of us need that tattooed on our forehead, right? If you can't say anything nice, let's not say anything at all, right? And so, and then also, it is so important to remember what people are doing is just giving you their opinion. They are entitled to their opinion, however wrong you may think it to be. So, Paul's saying his mom adds sensible and mature. Yeah, they're not the same thing, are they? And I saw something this week that said, I think it was from Keanu Reeves, and he said something about um, the difficulty with common sense is is not just that so few people have it, but it's just like the rest of us have to put it. Anyway, basically, that so few people have common sense, right? Um, yeah, let's grow up, for goodness sake. It's not a end of the world thing for us. Well, it could be, mind you. It could be. We're thinking nuclear codes now. Yeah. Oh, so Paul's mom says if you've got nothing sensible and mature to say nothing. Ah, yes. But with all due respect, Paul, to your mom, and I mean no disrespect to her, I think you know that. On whose terms are those two words judged? Who has to say it's sensible and who says it's mature? Why? Because in this situation I'm in, I have twice heard the words, "You are overblowing this." That's gaslighting. Or you're blowing this out of control. No, not out of control. You're overblowing this. And I'm going, no, I'm not. No, I'm not overblowing it. This upsets me. And I'm not overblowing it. I want to make sure I understand it. And so, you look at it all and you go, life is not perfect. Life has its ups and downs. Yeah, Paul, I think it's called gaslighting. All right. When somebody says that I'm overblowing something, it's like, hello, I know what I'm doing. I just look totally stupid to you. So, yeah, gaslighting is nasty. It really is. So here we go. I want you all to just take a deep breath and go, the next few months are going to be difficult. And I would like to hope that we, as Dear Mama Sal viewers, can still continue to get together, still talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, still talk about what we like, don't like, and keep it polite, keep it generous, keep it brief, don't keep flogging a dead horse, sort of thing. And hey, maybe we'll all learn something. All right. And always, my question was for all the people, who I saw saying, Biden should get out of the race. My question is, great. Who do you think should go in? All right. And so I really do mean that. I'm really interested who people think should go in, and I'm from both sides, right? Because I think that's a possible argument that we need to have, or discussion. Who should go in, or who should not go in? Now, obviously, we've had Jeannie's input. She doesn't like Kamala Harris. That's fine. So she wouldn't want her to go in. But we're talking about who would Trump like to go up against if it's not Biden? Because I'm certain, I seem to remember in the debates he didn't do. Anyway, I can't remember too well, but I got a feeling that Kamala Harris held her own against him when she was debating him at one point. Could be wrong. So here we are. Well, no, she didn't debate him, did she? She debated. Yeah, she debated the VP. My apologies. I was wrong on that. Yeah. All right, guys. So have a great week. Take everything in life as a learning lesson. Remember, Paul, you can tell the truth even though it may not end up as a reality. Do you understand the difference of that? So you can say, I want to, but it may not be possible. And that would be incredibly realistic. Um, it's going to be hard. You're right. Maybe impossible. Yeah. But it doesn't stop you being honest about the words, I want to marry you. I totally get that. I don't think she would have debated Biden. Oh, yes, in for the yeah. And she also um Trump and who? Who was Trump up with? Yeah, the guy he didn't like at the end because he wouldn't break the law. Um, I can't I remember his name. I can see him. Yeah, that's right. She would have debated him at one point. Anyway, yeah, exactly. So Paul's saying I've got to be realistic, right, in terms of age as well as distance. Exactly, Paul. And I'm very proud because I don't think you could have done that 5 or 6 years ago. So you're doing a great job on yourself. No, not Nikki Haley. Who was Trump's VP? The guy that wouldn't mess with electoral votes. And Trump ended up not liking him because of it. Ah, Pence. Thank you very much, Jody. Last, yeah. All right. I think she debated him. The two VPs debated. I seem to remember. Okay. Anyway, but she's actually a good debater, in my view. Um. So anyway, we will see what happens. It's going to be. What is the Chinese curse? May you live at interesting times. When you see what's just happened in France, when you see what's happening in other parts of Europe, I think we are about to enter very interesting times. And this is not forgetting the fact that Russia has got ships sitting in Cuba at the moment. Are they still there? I think they are. I'll have to check on that. Yeah, nuclear ships sitting in Cuba. That's 90 miles away from the US. Scary stuff. Scary, scary stuff. And so now I just want to give you all a big hug. Let's just enjoy every day that we can because we don't know how many we got left. For whatever the reason, we don't know. Let's keep playing bingo, Jody, if it makes us happy. Even if it's so difficult to get up and do that. And I'm going to continue to enjoy the tennis, regardless of who judges me for being up half the night. That's my right as a human being. Make sense? And that is the way I choose to live my retirement. They may choose to go gambling or to the pub or do whatever. I don't do those things. I enjoy tennis. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, have a wonderful week, people. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now. Thanks for your help, Jody and Jeannie.